Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel. And I do apologize for being absent last week. We had that 5-day long craft show and I had hoped to be able to do some videos at night, or at least one video, to get one video up last week, but we ended up having to restock, to make some inventory to restock in the evenings, and so that videos didn't happen, and unfortunately I don't have my shit together enough to be able to have all these projects done in advance and get my videos scheduled. So I do apologize for my short break, but I am back, and I am back on Pine Street Square pad. So I am still working on this pad. I am down to scraps. I don't have any full-size sheets left, so that's exciting. And I have a bunch of little different projects to share today, and I've kind of been working on them over the course of the last several weeks, but I was saving them up because they're all not worth a video on their own because they're all so small, and so I was trying to wait until I had enough to make, you know, enough for a whole video. So I have some bread or jar wraps here. That was like the first thing I tackled. And actually, when I first started back into this pad last month, I was going through the scraps, and there were a bunch of like thin 12-inch long scrap pieces. And so I thought, oh, those would probably be decent for bread or jar wraps. And so I didn't touch them. I didn't cut them down. I didn't do anything to them other than add the embellishment. So they're all varied sizes, like widths. I just kind of used whatever that width was just because I wanted to use up the whole piece, but they are all 12 inches long. And then there was a set of journal cards that I had found at Hobby Lobby also that matched the pad really well. And so I took some of those and fussy cut out the sentiment on it, and then just added it to my strip with some score tape, and then that's just kind of like the decoration on the wrap. So I have 2 holiday cheers, a peace and a merry. And then I did some more this week because I needed to kind of restock my wraps for the Christmas themed ones. And so I went through my scraps again and found some that were at least 1.5 inches wide and then 12 inches long. So 1.5 inches by 12 is my preferred size for my wraps. If I'm going to do like a border punch along the edges, then I will go up to maybe 2 inches, because once you do the punch, you know, punch out the border, you lose width. But 1.5 inches is kind of where I like to ideally land. 1.5 inches wide by 12 inches long. And like I said, these go around a small quick bread loaf, even a large quick bread. You may just have to leave a little gap. And the same thing, it'll go around a pint jar really well, and you can still make it work on a quart jar. So these wraps work both for breads and jars, which is really nice that they're versatile. So as far as decorating these, I used this stamp set that I had got at the end of the season last year from Michael's, and it doesn't really have a name. It just says Recollections Christmas or Noel at the top, but there's like no name, no stamp set name. Somebody had asked me that before, and I'm like, it doesn't have a name, but I can tell you what some of the sentiments are. But anyway, I wanted to use the Sweet Christmas Wishes because I thought it would be cute for a bread wrap. And I just stamped it in red ink on craft cardstock, and then found a stitch circle die that would fit around the sentiment, and then cut them out. So I have kind of a couple different patterns here, just all very rustic and homey. So I think I made 4 last month and then 7 this month with the paper. So at least that will add 11 more bread wraps, jar wraps back in my inventory. And the next project I have to share is probably my favorite. Well, it's not probably, it is my favorite. I have been making ornaments for our craft shows this year. I had never really made the ornaments before. And so I've been playing with some ornament designs and had remembered that I had these MDF shapes in my stash that I had found on clearance at Michael's a while back. And like I said, they're MDF and they're painted, and I found circles, rectangles, tags, hearts. I think there's like a fancy label. And I don't know if I had squares or not. But I paid like 40 some odd cents for them. And one of the other ones had the price that they were like around $2. This one doesn't say. And don't worry, I will take the tags off before I put them out for sale at our shows. But I loved how they had like these rustic edges. And so I decided to utilize some of this rustic vintagey paper from the Pine Street Square pad. I had some scraps of the Santa paper left, and I thought they'd be really cute on the ornaments. So the bad thing is that these circles are not perfectly round. So when I was looking at my dies to find one that would give me just a little bit of a border, it was going to be, if I went too close to the edge, it was going to be blatantly obvious that these circle shapes were not perfectly round. So, because there would be like, you know, a big gap over here on one side, but then like right at the edge on the other, just because it's wonky. So I decided to go a little smaller with my circle so that it had a bigger border, and then it's less noticeable. Like I can tell right here, there's a little bit more right in this spot than there is anywhere else, because it's not right, like totally round right here, but I don't think it wouldn't be obvious to everybody else. Or it looks like it's supposed to be rusting, you know. So anyway, I used a die, circle die, to cut out my paper and tried to get the Santa, like at least one full Santa head in each circle. And then just used Mod Podge to apply my paper to my ornament. And then I wanted to add like a phrase to them, and so I ended up going with ho ho ho, and I just typed ho 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 into my silhouette, found the font that I want, sized it down, and cut it out of white vinyl. I really wanted to say something like Santa Claus is coming to town, or here comes Santa Claus, but they would have had to been teeny tiny words, and I hate weeding vinyl anyway, so I would not have the patience to weed all those little bitty words. It would have killed me to sit there and do that. So I went simple with ho 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 because I could do a little bit bigger letters. But on two of them, the Santa is over here on the side, and so I just did the ho 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 down the other side. And then on the other two, he's more in the center, and so I just did the ho 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 kind of curved around the bottom. So I think those are cute. And then I just added basic jute twine. And these shapes did not come with holes in them, so we did drill the holes after I got the paper on, and then added our rope through. And then I had 5 of the circles, but only enough paper of the Santas to do 4. So I went through my scraps again and had found a scrap big enough of this snowflake paper. And instead of putting a phrase on this one, I decided to stick with the rustic snowflake theme. And I had found these little burlap snowflake ornaments at Hobby Lobby. They're the My Little Christmas, so they're in that section that has all the little Christmas trees and the mini ornaments that you can put on them. So I just bought a pack of those. I was going to try and use it on another project, but this is where the only place I've ended up using it so far. And I just took out the string, which that kind of bothers me. You can see the hole right there where the string was. I don't know if anybody else will notice it. Yeah, I notice it. So let me know what you think, if that's a big deal or if you don't think anybody would notice. But I still think it's cute. And then the last ornament I have, these are the ornaments that I've been making, like the other ornaments that I've been making so far this season for our craft shows. My husband has been going through his scrap plywood and cutting down circles for me. It's like 1/4-inch plywood, really thin, and he's cutting them down into 3-inch, I think, circles, and then staining them. And what my original thought process is I wanted to make my ornaments look like little embroidery hoop signs. So you know when you make an embroidery hoop sign, you have a wood border around it because of the wooden hoop, and then you have your image or whatever on the sign on the inside. So I wanted it to kind of have that look, but be a little more simple to assemble. So I cut my circles to be about 1/4 of an inch smaller all the way around than the plywood circle that I'm putting it on. And so that gives me a nice wooden frame, circle frame around the paper. So I've done a whole bunch of other papers, but I found a scrap of this little red polka dot burlap that was like just big enough for one of these circles. So I went ahead and did an ornament with this paper as well. And then on the inside of like, or for the detail of the ornaments, I've been doing either some images like this. I have one that's a moose, or like words and kind of a skinny farmhouse font like Merry Christmas or Joy or Believe, Peace on Earth, different things like that. So this is the one I decided to go with on the burlap, just a simple black deer with the snowflakes around it. And then also on these, I've applied them with Mod Podge as well. So those are my ornaments. And then also for our craft show, this one isn't totally finished yet, but I wanted to share this part with you because this is the only part that applies to this paper pad. But our business, like our shtick, I guess, is, or what we're known for, is reversible or two-sided holiday decor. So for any one of our holiday decor pieces, there's going to be another holiday or season on the other side, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, or Christmas and winter, or fall, Halloween, something like that. And it just makes decorating easier this time of the year. All you have to do is turn it around at the end of one season. It's less to store, and it's a better value because you're getting 2 for 1. So that's kind of our thing. And so it's very rare that I make a holiday decor piece that isn't reversible, other than like the ornaments. So I had this scrap of plaid left, and I love this plaid. It's like red and green plaid with some wood grain detail in the background. And I had these white blocks already painted up and distressed. And so I thought it'd be cute to do, I had wanted to do some, it was going to say Noel on this side with a tree, and then snow on this side, SN Snowflake W. And so I decided to use this scrap of the plaid for the Noel side. And then I would have loved to have done the snow on this side in this snowflake pattern, but I didn't have any pieces big enough. So I'll have to just go to my stash. I know I have other ones that would work great for the snow side over here, but so I at least got it finished enough to this point so that you could at least see what I did out of this pad for this particular piece. But it will say snow on the other side. But just a cute little, holiday. These would go great in like tiered trays or just like little shelf decor. So we do a lot of little ones like this too. So that is that. And then the last project is not for a craft show at all. It's for our family Christmas tree. And my daughter Ellie helped me with this project. There is a silhouette file that makes these little paper ornament balls. And all it is, it cuts out the ornament shapes and you just glue them kind of back to back, like half of one to the back of half another, and you work your way around. And I've had this file in my library for a really long time and I just never played with it. So when I was looking for some different things to do with this pad, I thought I would go ahead and try out this file. And so I also thought it might be fun for my daughter to help me with this one. Excuse me. And so basically all we did is we took some glue and put it on the back half of one of the ornament shapes. And luckily the silhouette also like perforates it for you, so it makes it really easy to score them and fold them up. So we just did glue on the back of one half, and like I said, glued the half of the next one down to the back, and then kind of folded it over, glued the next half down, and just kind of worked our way around. And they're not perfect. I was using art glitter glue, and I forget that even though it's wet glue, you still don't get a whole lot of like wiggle room time to slide something around. So they're not perfect, but my daughter actually did a better job of lining them up than I did. But I ran 2 12 by 12 sheets through. So one 12 by 12 piece of paper of this plaid pattern and one 12 by 12 piece of the Christmas music sheets. And each 12 by 12 sheet gave me 2 full ornaments, enough pieces for 2 full ornaments. And so each ornament has 5 ornament shapes glued together, or that was the original premise. There was one, I think this one, where I kind of got off count and I added 6, and so the other one only has 4. But luckily they're for our tree, so it doesn't really matter. But you could totally recreate this with just circles. I've seen that too. And you just cut a bunch of circle shapes and you do the same thing. You fold them in half and then you glue, you know, back of one half to back of another. And you can add as many as you like to make it as full as you like. And then all I did on here to get my thread, my string, is I took some embroidery thread and put it through a big thick needle that I had, and then just poked the needle through from one end in the crease to the other side in the crease. And so you could totally do that if you were just using regular circle shapes as well. But just a fun way to use up some of your scraps of Christmas paper to make some ornaments. And so Ellie and I had fun with these. We did weight thread on the plaid ones and then like a navy thread on the music note ones. So we have some new ornaments, new family homemade ornaments to add to our tree this year, so that'll be fun. But those are all the little projects I have for you today. Like I said, I was trying to save them all up so I could talk about them all at once. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Also, let me know your thoughts on how you feel about the hole in the top of my snowflake, if it bothers you, or if you think no one will notice. But thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you're having a crafty week.